I'm Not Much 23,
And I'm ChoasAssassin.
and this is Gamer Experience.
And today we have a guest, a friend of mine, Calypso Nix, also goes by Nix or Calypso. Go ahead and say hi.
Hello.
So tell us a little about yourself, Nix.
I mean, what do you want to know?
Most of the time, we have people tell kind of like their gaming experience as far as what they specialize in, how long they've been gaming.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually started D&D here about 3 years ago, is when I actually picked it up, bought my first set of books and whatnot. I haven't played a lot because groups fall out, but a lot of my time is spent playing RPGs online. Baldur's Gate is my soft spot right now. I've been playing a lot of that.
Yeah, I believe in our hot takes episode, we had some things to say about Baldur's Gate, and I kind of regret some of the things I said, but I still kind of stand by some of them.
And there's a lot about Baldur's Gate in and of itself that there are multiple opinions about, such as specific endings. Being that I won't give spoilers for people who haven't quite gotten the chance to play it yet. But a lot of the interaction between players and NPCs it's very, very fluent. So
Yeah, when I made some of my comments about Baldur's Gate, I hadn't gotten to play, but what little I played at your place the one time before I got it for myself, and it's it's pretty good. But there's a few points I stand. I believe there were some points that was made in our feedback by Lord Greyhawk about things. Oh, yeah, he sent a mountain of text. I don't feel like going through all that. But I believe today's episode was.
Character Stories 5.
Is it 5? I thought it was 6.
No, it's 5.
Wow.
Actually, let me double check that.
Yeah, because it'd be funny. Oh, yeah, it's 5. 2.0, obviously.
No, it's 5.
Awesome. Wow. A lot of episodes of character stories, huh?
Well, telling stories is part of the gaming experience.
Indeed it is. But before we get into that,
especially
did we get anything from our viewers?
Nothing in the inbox. Checking X, formerly known as Twitter. Nothing here. Of course, we do have a Discord.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Because, this is where we record our episodes.
Yes.
And I believe there is a link to our Discord on where we have our podcasts at, correct? Or is that more on our X handle?
It's on our X handle.
Got it.
It's a
Our
pin.
axe handle now, huh? Nice. We have an axe. We have a real
axe
axe to
handle
grind.
axe handles are traitors to their own race.
I know, right? Here, let's axe each other questions.
Unless it's a fiberglass handle.
That would be mean. Since you said you had a few years experience, or like 3 years, and you have a little bit playtime, how about you tell us a story next?
Um, for the first major campaign I did, I started with a guy I actually met out playing Magic, the Gathering at one of the game shops here in town. And we decided that instead of going to the game stores, we'd go to his place. Anyways, we had been at a major city that's out on the countryside of the continent we were on, and essentially what happened was there were rumors of an impending invasion. Well, the invasion came, and the party, me included, actually went outside of the city, found out it was an illusion, dealt with that, and then we were told to assist neighboring villages. Well, one of these neighboring villages, their village healer had gone missing. So we figured we'd go there first, help with healing whilst we're looking for the healer. Well, about 2 hours into the trip, we came across a Knoll raiding party that was a part of the invasion that got separated from them when everything went downhill for them, basically. And suffice to say, I was running a rogue warlock multi-class at the time, and from the loot, I had obtained a ring of spider climbing and a ring of leaping. The Ring of Leaping gave me a bonus to my jumping distance and a bonus to my acrobatics. So being a rogue, you'd think, that's nice. Well, before leaving, we had gotten a cart, and it's one of those ones with the 2 wheels instead of 4, and it's small, or it's big enough to hold like 4 people and a couple of smaller goods, right? And everyone else got off the cart to fight off this Knoll raiding party. Well, my character Fritz was like, "Okay, I'll stay on the cart, keep an eye on everything, make sure someone doesn't come up behind us, pull a fast one." Well, in the ensuing battle, Fritz decided, "Hey, this sounds like a really good idea," and proceeded to start making acrobatics checks, jumping from one side of the cart to the other, using it as a catapult, flinging gnolls off of the road into the middle of the road on top of other gnolls, so on and so forth. And eventually, the combat ended with the leader of this little group was riding on the back of a warg, rushed the cart to try to break it to keep us from progressing as quickly, and Fritz used one of the what are they called where they put the horses in?
Yokes?
Yes, thank you. He used one of the yokes to actually skewer the warg. Well, by skewering the warg, momentum threw the gnoll up. The gnoll lost its spear and impaled itself on its spear.
Oh.
That is hilarious.
And very clever.
Indeed it is. That reminds me of like the samurai of the Citrus Order, where they were trying to help fugitives escape through the guards, and the guards were trying to break down the door, and the samurai decided to squeeze lemons into the soldiers' eyes as a type of ranged attack. Just was squeezing lemons in the eyes of the soldiers who were trying to watch to see where everybody was going. It's that creative thinking that makes these games as fun as they are. But you talking about flinging knolls and catapults, it reminds me of a story my father told me of the dwarven catapult. So in one of the games he was in, one of the party members for his party, which was a dwarf, got captured by goblins. And for fun, the goblins decided to keep putting the dwarf in a catapult because he said he was as hard as a boulder. So they decided to test said theory and launch the dwarf at a mountainside consistently. Anytime he'd be close to death, they'd go heal him, revive him, take him back to the catapult. And they would just keep launching him. So my dad and his party had to save their party member from being the boulder in the dwarven catapult, he was the dwarf in the catapult. So
Was he as hard as a rock?
I don't know. My dad never actually confirmed or denied the fact of whether or not this dwarf was harder than a rock.
That could go 2 ways, harder than a rock.
Oh my.
Yeah.
The only thing I picture hearing that story is every time this dwarf that they think is harder than a rock hits the side of the mountain, there's a permanent indent in the side of the mountain in the shape of how the dwarf made contact with it.
Kind of like George of the Jungle.
Yeah, so you've and Looney Tunes, you've got these indentions in the wall that are like Looney Tunes style.
Yeah.
And then
I would totally see that happening.
After combat was over, I'm sorry to drag it on a little bit longer. There was one more part to it that I remembered. These gnolls we found out were rabid. Well, of the 4 party members we had, Fritz was the only one that didn't get bit. So our barbarian, who was also a gnoll, actually got into the yoke and beelined it for the village because our horse had ran off.
Oh.
So just downpouring rain every like I think it was 60 feet was what the DM had made it. I had to make I think it was a dex check or a dex save to not slip in the muddy roads. So there were a couple of times where like Tielka, who was the name of the barbarian, would slip, face plant in the mud, get up, grab it, and just keep going.
Sounds like a barbarian.
So yeah.
I believe the cart we were thinking of would be a rickshaw cart, wouldn't it?
Yes, I think that's what they're called.
Okay. For those that actually might know the actual answer, if I'm right or not, for our viewers, you can email us at gamersperience@gmail.com, correct?
Yes.
As well as send us a message on Twitter or X or whatever it is. I don't know how that works. I don't have that.
X, the site formerly known as Twitter.
How long are we going to be saying the formerly Twitter? Is at some point going to go back to Twitter, or is it just X now?
I don't know. Depends on Elon Musk.
X marks the spot for the treasure, doesn't it?
I mean, would it even be considered tweeting at this point? Like, what would we call it?
Xstein. Oh, wait a minute. I think there's something else called. Oh no, that's a different thing.
Yeah, dangerously close to that.
I mean, either way, do the wrong thing and it can ruin your life. So
I don't have much of a
Hashtag
life to
yellow.
ruin.
that's fair.
Makes
In
me
your case, I suppose it'd be hashtag YOLO.
That's what anything is nowadays. It's a YOLO.
makes me wish I had any more stories that I haven't already told.
Well, see, my issue with my stories is my memory's kind of not what it used to be. Although there is a story I'm surprised Nix hasn't said, because he is, like he said earlier, he's running a game, and I am playing in said game. Been a while since I played D&D, but I'm playing in it, and one of the party members, memory serves, threw your own mechanic that you put into the game against you and kind of ruined the
Oh my.
kidnapping.
So
Do
you're
you,
saying do you want me to tell this one?
do you want to
I can.
go
So
for it?
in the country that the campaign takes place, it's part of an archipelago. Well, it used to be purely inhabited by mountain dwarves, and they found a way to use the ores of the land to make essentially matrices to put magic through, like transmutation of sorts. So if you casted, say, produce flame and you threw it into one of these copper, we'll call them wires. We'll just call them copper wires. I don't remember the exact term for them. I have them written down somewhere. If you throw produce flame into that, basically, if you have control of this matrix, you're able to pick a point where you want the spell to leave the metal, and it'll come out and hit, say, an enemy that's 60 feet outside of your range, assuming that there's copper next to them. Well, one of the party members, who is a homebrew creature of sorts, proceeded to go, "Oh, hey, that copper is in the walls of this tunnel. I wonder what happens if I cast Entangle in it." Well, he just let loose an Entangle spell, and it covered the entirety of the corridor in nothing but vines. And then he proceeded, or another party member, I think is what it was, proceeded to cast a fire spell and light the entire corridor on fire.
All of which, while we were trying to catch the, as my character calls him, Pompous, the royal person that
Prince.
got kidnapped.
Yeah. At the banquet, nonetheless. And it just, like, the original plan was that they were going to chase them into it and find the catacombs that were under the city, and then it would proceed from there. No, my I didn't take into consideration that my mechanic might be used against me had they stopped and actually thought about how they were going to go about doing this. I was expecting it to be one of those things where everyone was like, "Hurry, we have to save him," or something, you know? And yeah. No. That's definitely not how it went. I thought I had this, but I so did not have it.
And that is something that happens to so many DMs and GMs everywhere. One of the ones that happened to me, somewhat similar, but not exactly. As everybody knows, I GM Pathfinder Society, so there's a lot more rules, regulations, and I have a booklet I have to follow, basically, of the scenario. Well, in one of the scenarios, you are to hunt down a specific person. Now, you're not supposed to necessarily let them know you're looking for them, but you need to do it discreetly and try to find them. Well, the issue is one of the characters has a great charisma, but no intelligence and no wisdom.
Uh-oh.
And the player plays them like a ditzy blonde. One of the other characters, their familiar is more intelligent than them.
That they grew up without the shoulder pads.
Something like that. But instead of doing it covertly like they needed to, they started walking around to every person and demanding where this person was and what they knew. The issue is they forgot what organization they were working for because they're a ditzy blonde. And so instead of being part of the Pathfinder Society, they were talking as if they were part of the Aspis Consortium, which anybody who plays Pathfinder Society knows is the mortal enemies of the Pathfinders. So instead of just, I had it do it like, okay, once or twice, but then they said that they were going to the main center of town and going to be stopping anybody and everybody asking where this person was. So me still being fairly new to GMing and trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to deal with this? It had gotten to the point that so many people were hearing about this, about the ditzy blonde asking for them, that the answers they started to give was like, I don't know, but we heard that some ditzy blonde is also looking for him too. You might want to talk to them. So then they started asking where the ditzy blonde was. The rest of the party ended up doing everything they needed to, while these two proceeded to talk to everyone in town to the point that the person they were looking for found out about it and thought that the Aspis were coming after them. So, yeah, it wasn't necessarily fun on how that happened, but it's one of those of, as part of being a GM, you have to learn to wing things sometimes.
Of course, I really haven't had much experience as a GM to be able to wing things, but I know you ran a homebrew which fell apart like so many do. Of course, we're playing Gestalt characters.
Actually, in the new one I've just recently started, I'm running my party's running Gestalt, but hopefully this one fires more and better than the last one.
Yeah, but actually, I just remembered a story from that one. It's not a very long story, but I haven't told it on the podcast before. Of course, my character that I played, Mukushi, a barbarian war priest, who's kind of a freakish hybrid of a Kasathan and a Kitsune. He had 4 arms, but 2 of them were really small. I believe you had us in the base town. You had us revolve everything around where the remnants of the Pathfinder Society were hiding. Mukushi had a job as security at the tavern, and the tavern owner told him about a couple guys that need to pay up their tab. Of course, Mukushi isn't stupid, but he is rather violent, so he went up's like, you need to pay your tab. And the drunk said, no. He took one of those guys' heads and bounced it on the table. Said, I wasn't asking. Pay up.
Still think in that game, one of my favorite NPCs was that barkeep. Because that barkeep, was a barkeep. She would do more damage to you with her mithril bar stool than she would with any weapon you handed her.
Mithril bar stool?
She had a bar stool made of mithril.
Why?
And because that was her weapon of choice.
Oh my
because
word.
because in 2nd edition there's actually a thing for improvised weapons. Well, in Pathfinder 1 there wasn't. So I designed a fighting style around improvised weapons. So with how everything broke down, because I did it based like any other of the fighting styles, just with improvised weapons instead. There is so many ways to make bludgeoning, non-lethal, and improvised weapons stronger that upon stacking all of it, she could actually do more damage with a bar stool and have a better to hit with a bar stool than any actual weapon.
Random bullshit, go!
It was only a D8, but I think I calculated it out to where it was like a D8 plus 28 damage. and she had a better to hit than most barbarians of the same level, raging while wielding an enchanted weapon, because her bar stool was also enchanted for
Really turned
for impact and then returning. So she would throw the bar stool at people and it would come back to her.
really said everyday objects are my Pokemon now.
Yeah, but she only threw her bar stool when there was a bar fight, and she straight up told people, "If y'all start a bar fight in here, I'm gonna be the one finishing it, and it's not gonna look pretty." And a couple people tried her, and they have permanent face damage.
They fucked around and found out.
Yep, their faces kind of look like pugs now.
Those are some of the best stories, though.
Oh yeah, but that was an NPC I designed, and I loved the character. Just like what's more threatening, the bouncer or the barkeep that actually could beat up the bouncer? I mean,
Barkeep that could beat up the bouncer, in my opinion.
yeah, but she didn't look like she could fight. It was somewhat buff barkeep, but she was real nice, real sweet. But she's a former adventurer too. The entire town was built of former adventurers because, like in my setting, the Pathfinder Society had become illegal because somehow the Aspis gained control and started hunting Pathfinder members. So they lost everything. So they were in hiding. So they made a small town and magically hid it using high level artifacts and stuff, and basically made a town to try and just make ends meet.
And of course, you referenced some of our society characters in it.
Yes, I did. I not only did I reference some of y'all's, multiple people's I knew, because I enjoyed that. I enjoy bringing other characters from other games and just from other people because that makes it feel more inclusive, especially for how I had my setting designed.
I think you did something with the elf brawler rogue that I played.
Yeah, she was the other bouncer in that bar. I believe I had her.
Yeah, she's a total sleut.
That too.
Speaking of the fuck around and find out aspect of D&D, Pathfinder, etc., I actually thought of another story if we do have the time for it.
Oh,
Of
we
course.
definitely have the time.
So this is the same campaign. It was Fritz, Ilka. My partner played a black dragonborn sorcerer named Remora, and then the DM played as well, and he played a tiefling warlock named Brand. Well, at this point in the story, we had been recruited into a interplanar guild that had operatives in different planes from like magic, so like Ravnica, Theros, stuff like that. And the headquarters was in a town that was like all the denizens of said town were all worshippers of a created god essentially named Francis. Well, earlier in the story, the party had found out that Francis wasn't a person. Francis was a rhinoceros beetle. And
Like an actual rhinoceros beetle, or like a
yes,
human-sized rhinoceros beetle?
no, a regular sized rhinoceros beetle was Francis, was this god that they all had been worshipping. And this rhinoceros beetle had made its goal to become a god. Well, it was a very intelligent one nonetheless, and it caught the eye of the god of trickery, Loki. Well, Loki bestowed some of his power to this beetle so it can perform feats of unimaginable proportions. Well, this city is built right at the mouth of a cave that leads into the Underdark because he specifically has a vendetta against Drow. We never found out what the vendetta was about, but suffice to say, this beetle would randomly just flitter its wings or something, and it would cause a blinding explosion to happen, and all the Drow would just be decimated. It was, yeah. Anyways, so Loki had taken the form of in the D&D universe, I think they'd be called Shardakai. In that in that what you are currently playing in our campaign right now, Chaos?
Shardakai are the elves that went into Shadowfell.
They're the white skinned ones, right?
Lighter. They're what?
Lighter.
It's they're more gray than black, so they're mistaken for drow sometimes, but they're from the
Okay.
shadow plane, basically.
That's basically what form Loki had taken on this plane. Well, the guild hall in the center of the city had a bell tower. If you climb this bell tower, you could talk to this elf who nobody at the time knew was Loki. Well, Loki had actually done something to infuriate one of the heads of the Church of Francis, and occasionally he'd make some sort of joke, and she'd literally just rip this bell out of the tower and throw it at about 12 to 1 on a routine basis. So if you're walking through downtown, you see this giant bell just bouncing and rolling down the road, nearly crushing denizens. And it's just Loki's just sitting in it, he's rolling with it, and then 5-10 minutes later will like pass, and the bell just magically reappears at the top of the bell tower just for it to fly off again for no
That's
reason.
funny. I had a character that entered the Underdark or the Darklands once. It's really entertaining because the GM he just told us, there was a staircase that went down. We asked him like, okay, so we go down it. He's like, well, you're walking for like 10 minutes and you're still walking. Well, me and the fighter, which had a tower shield, decided, instead of walking, why don't we take the expressway down? Well, the GM just said it was a straight shot. So we set the tower shield down and he got on it, and then I jumped on and we just started to go basically sledding down the stairs. The issue is when you're sledding on a tower shield made of metal across stairs, they cause friction. Metal heats up with friction, especially when it's going down about a 5 to 10 mile descent at approximately about a 30-degree angle. So, well, we lit up the staircase as sparks are flying everywhere. We are now having to make fortitude saves as the shield we are sitting on is starting to heat up, and we are going at such a high speed we can't bail without taking lethal damage to us. We ended up coming out, hitting land for about half a second, and then skiing across a lake. We got about 100, 150 feet out. I don't remember exactly how far. Fighter's wearing full plate and also has another tower shield on his back.
No.
Fighter didn't do anything to learn how to swim. Upside is he was able to cast monkey fish, which gives you a swim speed. The issue is by the time it actually took effect, he didn't have the strength to swim while being that encumbered. And while yes, monkeyfish gives you the ability to swim, it doesn't give you the ability to breathe water. So while my character was fine because I learned how to swim, his character was not so lucky. He was having trouble swimming and getting up to the surface. He ended up getting right near the surface but wasn't able to breach it as he ran out of breath and started to drown. So my character had to go in, make the strength checks to help get him above water, and thankfully we were able to get to land, and I was able to resuscitate him as he went unconscious. So, about
Are you saying that this happened in the Ebon Lake in the Underdark? Is that where the staircase went?
I believe so, yeah. He didn't exactly tell us what was in the lake. He just said that there was a giant lake.
It's probably a good thing you didn't know, otherwise there would have been a lot more panic.
Well, it's also one of those things of he didn't expect us to actually go down the way we did. And if you think about it, any creatures down there hearing something coming from the staircase that sounds like, metal scraping across stone steps, coming down and creating such a bright light that even we were blinded because it had so much heat and just the sparks. He put it at bright light, basically coming in and hitting the water. Most things swam away,
Okay.
but we didn't. That character almost died because he couldn't swim. About an hour and a half later, the rest of the party shows up and is trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Even the stairs themselves were like you could smell, and that shield, we don't know what happened to it. Probably still at the bottom of that lake.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of picturing like that one scene from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where Clark puts the oil on the bottom of the metal saucer, and then just rockets down the hill.
Yeah. Yeah. Except it's a tower shield. It's hilarious.
So in this case, IRL, it would have been a dumpster lid. Or that'd be a bit too big.
That'd be a little bit too big. I'd say think of like a door. Even a door would be a little on the big side, but think somebody sledding down a door, down steps.
What about a large tote lid?
That'd be a little small.
Okay, so it'd be in the middle there.
Yeah.
I remember I used to go sledding down a roof that was right next to our backyard because of how the town was built. It was built on a number of different sized hills. And that's the first thing that I thought of. So
yeah. But that's just one of those fun stories of little out of the box thinking can lead to some really entertaining stories. Although if GM wanted to, he could have had something attack us and kill us. Because the moment I entered water, I became useless because I was playing a gunslinger. Gunpowder and water don't mix.
No, they don't.
So after that, I ended up buying a waterproof powder bag. So I could put my black powder in it and water wouldn't affect it. Because I didn't even think of that. But it's just one of those things. We didn't expect it to be like a couple miles long. It's just one of those things. It's like, oh, we'll just beat down to the thing. Heaven forbid if there was a turn. Like just a straight random 90-degree turn.
Yeah, you would have just been red paste on the wall.
No, more so he would. He was up front. I was in the back. He'd be a can of tomato soup.
You think going down the stairs that fast, you would have cushioned your fall enough or your momentum enough to where you wouldn't have.
I wouldn't have turned into paste. He would have. I'm not saying I would have survived, but he would have been a can of tomato soup, and most of my body might be intact. I might be a blob.
Bob the Blob.
Yep, Bob the Blob.
Still not an open casket.
What was that?
Still not an open casket funeral.
I don't know. Have you seen what they could do with makeup nowadays?
Do you know what kind of damage that would have caused?
Not in a little 3D printing couldn't solve,
Actually, to be fair, my character, I believe in that game was a fetchling, which are kind of kill on sight. So, I for some reason I have a tendency to play more towards characters that are more kill on sight or don't trust them. We'd rather trust the rogue that's stealing our coin purse than trust you. We don't care you're a healing cleric. I don't think have I told the story of when everybody decided to hand the rogue all of their valuables?
I don't know.
I think you might have told me that one during a break in our campaign here about 2 weeks ago. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, so one of my characters, his name is Edward. He's really good at one thing. Similar to how Toto's good at perception, I made Edward good at sleight of hand. So in the campaign, or the game we were running, it wasn't a campaign, it was a society game, we had to infiltrate a Knoll prison. And so some of us had to pretend to be slaves, and others had to pretend to be slave owners. So they, you had to wear the part. So we were given a magic shoe that functioned similar to like a bag of holding, and it would shrink everything down. But we needed a good sleight of hand. So everybody looked at me because I'm a rogue. They're like, hey, can you hold all of our valuable goods? I'm sorry, you're trusting me with your valuable goods? Normally people are keeping their valuables away from me, yet you want me to hold them? They're like, yeah, we trust you. That is a terrible idea. Why are you trusting the rogue? Rogue, we are notorious for stealing your goods. Yet you're what? And it ended up we went, and because we were slave owners, they had to search us. So the GM looked at me and was like, all right, what's your bonus to sleight of hand? Well, my bonus or my bonus to conceal? Your bonus to conceal. Well, with concealing, I'm sitting at like a 30 something. The look on the GM's face was just like, seriously? It's like, what? I'm good at breaking certain things. And so they didn't even roll, because even with a nat 20, they weren't going to be able to perceive what I was hiding on me. So we ended up getting into the camp, and as part of the thing, we have to break out. And I didn't want to look like an enemy just yet, so I handed everybody their stuff through the window. And when we were caught, it's like, I'm just telling them to shut up, and like a slave owner would do. And then when they started their revolt, I ran to the knolls that were next to the alarm bell and told them, hey, the prisoners that are revolting, they're trying to escape. It's like, all right, let me ring the bell. I was like, and he went to ring the bell. It's like, he turned his back to me, didn't he? It's like, yeah, great. I'm going to use one of my abilities called Underhanded Strike. What's that do? Well, if I hit, I do max damage. They're like, what do you mean max damage? I do max damage with sneak attack, as I now need a perception to see if he can see my blade that's on me. He's like, oh crap, they don't have the perception to see any of your weapons. So I managed to underhand strike, stab him, kill him in one attack, and then had enough time to hide my other things. Like, what just happened? And I had enough bluff that the other gnoll that saw it was trying to figure out why he just dropped dead. And when that gnoll came to do it, I used my other action to do my because I can only do it a number of times equal to my charisma mod, which was 2. So I used both instances to kill both gnolls before they rang the alarm bell. I then proceeded to disable the alarm.
Nice.
So any other gnolls that came, and just it ended so horribly for the gnolls. It wasn't even funny, because this was after the kineticist was released, which, for those that don't know, the kineticist, think like from the movie Avatar, not with the blue people, the Netflix, or not Netflix.
You mean M. Night Shyamalan?
No,
the Nickelodeon show Avatar: The Last
yes.
Airbender.
Yeah, the Nickelodeon show, where the water bending, air bend, that's kind of what a kineticist is. Well, the kineticist was a were shark named Sharkbait. Hoo ha ha.
I was just about to say it.
His name's actually Sharkbait, but every time he says it, everybody does it. Why? Because Sharkbait. Hoo ha ha. But ended up taking, and one of his abilities was he can make the ground slippery. He's unaffected by it because of other shenanigans he has. So he's literally made everything icy. Everybody's falling over. My other half was playing in that she's unaffected by the ice because she was playing her Winter Witch, which just scaled so beautifully with it. My other half, myself and our friend, we played Sharkbait, Edward, and I forget my other half's Winter Witch's name. I think it's Sylvanas. We have played those 3, and they work so well together. It is terrifying on how well we work together, because they'll knock them over, and I'll go to help people up and stab them, and then they fall over. It's like they died from the ice, because I have the sleight of hand. Note, I always look unarmed. I almost never actually have my knives in my hands, because I get bonuses when sneak attacking, because I can just stab and hide the knife. It's like, I don't know. He died. I think I even took a feat that allows me to use my sleight of hand to deceive somebody of the fact of me being unarmed instead of using my bluff. So for first edition, you can break so many things, and it's amazing on how well you could do it. If you want to do it, you can build it. That's something that, and the game I'm currently running, I'm hoping we actually can play this Wednesday, that I'm really excited about.
I don't have anything going on or planned as far as I know. The only thing is that on Wednesday, depending on when you get back, I have to wait for a package. But
No, that's fine. But I'm hoping that because I'm trying to make in that game, one of the players wants to recreate Kratos from the God of War series. Nyx is trying to recreate his rogue Fritz.
Warlock.
Yeah, the rogue warlock. I have it as a rogue arcanist because that's like the closest thing I could find towards the warlock. And so I'm thinking everybody's having fun with it, but I'm looking forward to what I have planned. I hope everybody else in that game is. I know not much is planning on making a Starfinder game at some point. We just have to find the players for it.
If I may ask, what is Starfinder?
It's the sci-fi version, sort of like a transition between Pathfinder First and Second Edition. It was a test bed for a lot of that stuff.
Basically, think D&D or Pathfinder, but
in
space.
space.
Basically, you're flying in like starships. It's like a D&D version of like Star Trek, Star Wars.
It's basically No Man's Sky.
Sort of, yeah. It's It's a tabletop RPG of all of these sci-fi and the space games.
Okay. That actually sounds like something I'd probably be interested in.
I've mentioned before about the Skittermanders, the race that wants to help anyone and everyone. They are so helpful. They even helped the race that was trying to take over their planet. They helped them succeed in taking over their planet by not resisting, because that's the helpful thing to do.
Kind of an aside to that, I have a
Isn't that planet called Vesk 6?
Vest 5, Vest 6, one of the Vest planets. But my lowest level character in Starfinder Society, which I will be playing tomorrow, is a Skittermander that drives a taxi. And of course, one thing Skittermanders like to do is add syllables to their names whenever they achieve something. So Virizu, which was his name until he became a full-fledged Starfinder agent, then become Virizuzu. Well, he had a lot of trouble trying to update his hack license. And the funny thing is, the people who have hauled up changing his name on his hack license was other Skittermanders, because the Vesk had pretty much turned over all the bureaucratic functions to the Skittermanders. Of course, I think bureaucratic Skittermanders would be helpful by, oh, you need to fill out this form, or, oh, this is exactly where you messed up. Fill it out again in triplicate. Oh, well, here's
They'll all six it.
Well, they'll all six denying it. Because, of course, bureaucrats tend to be obstructive, but Skittermander bureaucrats tend to be obstructive in a they'll help you understand that they're denying you, but they'll help you understand that it's not personal, it's just business. At least how I imagine it.
I want to see the Skittermander DMV. Oh, you're here to wait. Great. We will tell you exactly how many hours you're going to be here now. And we'll let you know every minute so you know that the time is counting down. That's our way of being helpful. I don't want to go to a Skittermander DMV now. That just sounds terrifying.
Yeah. But if
their estimated time
sound terrifying.
I think the funniest one we had when it came to Starfinder was when you played your bookie, not much, and I was playing my android, Sally.
Oh, yeah.
So he has a character that their day job is a
bookie.
So he keeps track of all sorts of bets and everything.
Yeah. Takes bets, sets odds for those bets. Go ahead.
Sorry. One of my characters, their name is Sally. I had to remake them because I remembered what they were, remembered their class and everything, but I couldn't remember the name. Well, it wasn't until later when I found the original character that I realized, oh, it was supposed to be Sal. So as part of the thing, their adventuring name is Sally, but because they're androids don't necessarily have anything to designate gender. So as part of a programming thing, it kind of like a split personality, it goes between Sally and Sal. Sal is very coordinated, analytical, and deals in more black market. So Sal makes all the bets. Sally does the goody two shoes adventuring for her money. So anytime the bookie gets a bet with Sal's name, Sal rigs everything. Sal is a criminal. So he makes sure, this is when this is going to be a payout. I need to change the odds for more in my favor.
So yeah, every time Bud sees Sal's bet, he knows that's going to be the outcome. And of course, like any good bookie, that's his name, first name, Bud. He runs a Dutch book where all the bets of the losers always pay winning bets of the winners. And of course, minus a little, which Bud takes for running the books. And Sal's bets are really helpful to tell Bud how he needs to balance his book.
More so pushing a certain, outcome more so in the favor.
Yeah, adjusting odds. I think CCP Gray somebody did a video on how bookies operate, which is really helpful to understand what exactly Bud does.
I didn't know that was actually a thing. As far as there was a video teaching you how to balance books as a bookie.
Yeah,
I just always thought that was like a criminal thing.
Well, there's legitimate bookmakers that do it too. I'll post a link to that video once I find it on our Discord.
That'd be kind of cool.
But I think that should do it for this episode.
I think we've got enough content.
Oh yeah.
For those of you that are listening or watching or whatever, if you have your own character stories, please do not hesitate to let us know and send them in. You can either join our podcast or the Discord of our podcast. You can email us at gamersperience@gmail.com.
All lowercase, no spaces.
You can send us a
direct message on X, formerly known as Twitter.
I still find it funny. Is it tweeting still or no?
No, I don't think it is, but
it's a viable question.
Yeah.
I mean,
if anybody has thoughts on it, please let us know of your opinion. Is it still tweeting or is it Xting now?
I mean, you guys could always have them send you what they think it is, and then you both take a
poll.
Yeah, I mean, find out which one people prefer. I mean, hey, a fun way to interact.
Also, I am running a game. If anybody would like to, because I'm open to hearing, because in my game we are doing basically they're trying to create a cult to help follow them so they could do the quest of the Starstone. If anybody has ideas for missions or scenarios, NPCs, or anything y'all want to have enter my game, let us know. I look forward to seeing what y'all have as far as ideas for me to throw at my party. And keep in mind that these are somewhat newer players to Pathfinder, but got to learn somehow.
Yeah.
But please let us know.
I'm Not Much 23.
And I'm ChoasAssassin.
And thank you, Nix, for coming on and telling some of your gaming stories.
Anytime.
And this is Gamer Experience.
And we invite you to have your own Gamer Experience.